Hello, everybody.
Sorry, I just muted everybody just so you know when you said that.
I got that. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. People are still joining, so we're going to give it another minute or two while people come on in. Okay. I don't want to hold you all too long. I'll just get started with my intro while people are still joining. Welcome. My name is Simi
I,
Lichtman.
I can admit them so you can just talk and not worry.
Thanks, Debbie. All right. So my name is Simi Lichtman. I'm going to be moderating the Q&A today. I will be doing the easy part. Debbie will be doing the hard part. But thank you all so much for joining us here. This is our fourth EFTCNJ Q&A. These have been a huge success, and we're so excited that so many people have really just wanted to see this need clearly, and it's being met now. So I'll just tell you a little bit about EFTCNJ. EFTCNJ is the Emotionally Focused Center of New Jersey, a volunteer-run organization whose mission is to promote healthy, loving relationships across the greater New Jersey area through the practice of emotion-focused therapy. We're dedicated to the building, growth, and excellence of the New Jersey community of EFT therapists, and today's Q&A is just one of the examples of the way that we do this. We started these Q&As in February of last year, and we've been getting people from all over the world joining in for this. So thanks for being here. We have some hopefully upcoming in-person socials in New Jersey for New Jersey EFT therapists, so keep your eyes out for that. And if you are part of EFTCNJ, or if you live in New Jersey and want to be part of EFTCNJ, feel free to reach out to us if there's any needs that you think that we could be meeting that we're not, or if you have any topics that you would like to see attended to in future Q&As. I really want to thank my fellow EFTCNJ board members for helping make.
Hang on, Simi. Sorry.
No,
I was muting people's mic and then yours, even though you were co-host, I didn't think it would mute you.
no problem. Well, thanks to those people anyway, is what I was saying. Abby, Yosef, and Aaron, in case that didn't come through. Thank you. Um, we know that a large part of what draws you here today is the opportunity to learn from Debi Scimeca-Diaz. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. Many of you have probably been trained by her. If you've been lucky enough to do that, then you know how wonderful she is. For everybody else, I'll give you the boring details about who she is, and then you'll really see her shine through as she answers the question. Debi is a licensed marriage and family therapist, as well as an ICEFT certified EFT therapist, supervisor, and trainer. She's an AAMFT approved supervisor in the state of New Jersey with over 25 years of experience in the field, including over 15 years as a licensed clinical alcohol and drug counselor. She runs a full-time practice where she offers EFT couples therapy and Hold Me Tight workshops, provides individual and group supervision and consultation, and runs EFT trainings at both the externship and core skills levels. So in addition to all that, in her free time, she comes to these Q&As. So thank you so much for generously sharing your time and wisdom with us today, Debi.
Of course.
I'm going to be jumping into the questions in a moment. We've gotten so many in the signups. If you have more questions as we're talking, feel free to pop them in the chat box, and we will try to answer as many of them as we can. But I just want to highlight a few upcoming events before we jump in.
Can
The
I,
first,
I'm sorry, can I ask people to turn their cameras off? So you just have Simi and I on this because for the Q&A, you're not going to want everybody's camera on. And also technically go up to view. If you're seeing everybody's thumbnails with their name on it, go up to the view button and click where it says hide non-video participants. If you go under view, there's a drop-down menu, hide, and then you'll be good. So you'll just see Simi and I on the screen, which I think will be more helpful.
Thanks, Debbie.
So we have a couple people who still have their cameras on. Adina and Nancy, can you turn your cameras off, please? I forgot to set it up that way when I scheduled
Oh,
it to not have cameras on.
this is great. Yeah, this way you can just see the two of us highlighted. Okay, so I'll quickly review those upcoming events. Hopefully they'll be of interest to some of you or to people that you know. Debbie's going to be running a core skills online in February. I'm going to put all these links in the chat box once I'm done going over them. There's going to be an upcoming in-person externship in May in New Jersey. There's two Hold Me Tights that Debbie is leading coming up. One is online in February, and the other one is in person in North Carolina in March. And we have a generous discount coupon for that from Debbie. So I'll throw that into the chat box as well. If you are interested in hearing all about the work that we do at EFTCNJ or having your profile highlighted on our website, you can become a member at our website. I'll send the link for that. And then we also have all of the previous Q&As were recorded and are posted on our website. So you can check those out if you didn't have the opportunity to attend live. So now let's go to the questions. Debbie, anything else you want to add before we jump in?
No, I'm good.
Okay, great. So we got a lot of questions about the transition from stage one to stage two. So if you could start us off by just telling us a little bit about how the therapist knows when we are officially moving into stage two of EFT.
Great question. I'll start off by saying, and so let me back up for and talk about a little bit of stage one because I think this will make sense for people. When you are working in stage one, and we have our cycle, or those of you who are familiar with my work, I call it the bow tie, right? Where people are protecting themselves and in when they're protecting themselves, the vulnerability on the inside, there's like a big block there, right? They cannot share the vulnerability with each other because they're emotionally distant, they've been hurt before, so they have this block. So in stage one, all of our work is or what we're doing is we're going to take like an artist's chisel and we're going to be chiseling away at that block. And when we do that, when you're chiseling away at the big block, you have like lots of blocks that are kind of floating in the air. I want you to think about that in stage one. So when we get a lot of chiseled pieces of the block off, we're going to be trying to send over vulnerable enactments and seeing if we can get a response from the other. So sometimes we hit a big block, like a big chunk of it, and we can't get that response. So they just go right into their protection. And there's no chance they're not responding. They're locked into their protection. So we just make that explicit in stage one. We validate that. We can try to circle around again and see if we can chip off some of that block that's there. And then when the blocks are small enough, we can create a bonding event. So in stage two, so when we're sending over the vulnerability and maybe someone says, well, I'm afraid to share this right now, we could say, I totally get that. It makes so much sense. Of course, you've been in the cycle for so long. And it's such a risk right now. And I get it. And I'm wondering if you can maybe just peek out a little bit and maybe say this and try to do it a little different because this is really what's happening in your heart. So maybe you can try that. So validate the block. And what I'm gently doing is I'm trying to see if I can move it out of the way. That floating piece of concrete that's around there. Can I acknowledge it, validate it, and gently move it out of the way? And if I can, then I can proceed with working on a bonding event. If I can't, gently move it aside because they get like they just like they just can't. They're like then they get stuck in the blocks place. So, and that's where we kind of say, okay, so I'm in stage one. I can't create a bonding event. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. So to me, that's what you're looking for within your clients. Like, have I chipped away enough at this block that they can take risks and maybe hear the other person? I'm going to try this out and see what happens. Another thing about like moving into stage two, like how do you know about what was the question again? I'm sorry. Was the transition?
Yeah, it was phrased a few different ways, but like, how do you determine when a couple is actually in stage two,
That's what
essentially?
I thought. So I just want to kind of say a couple different things. Hopefully my block image is helpful for people. The other thing that you're looking for is the couple has externalized their cycle, right? So instead of them being caught in blaming each other or the accuse defend pattern, which is like super common, find the bad guy pattern, they're starting to be able to see the cycle and at the couple is like coming together like, oh, we're standing side by side and we're looking at that cycle. So we've externalized the cycle and we can see it as the enemy, right? The cycle becomes the enemy rather than the partner, right? So when the couple can start to be talking about that, you'll hear some things that they say, oh, we got the cycle came up or the tornado or whatever they've named it. And we were able to pause it and like kind of look at it together rather than getting caught in it. right? Or we saw it and we still got caught in it. Okay, that's fine too. But when they can externalize it and they can look at it together, and there's a we looking at the cycle, that's really helpful. When people can see the impact that their protective move has on their partner without falling into a pit of shame, when they can recognize that, hey, when I feel like when I'm so alone in this relationship or I feel invisible or non-existent, that's when I come at you and I start criticizing you, right? And I know that that hurts you inside because you feel like you can't do anything right, right? So I don't have to, as long as I don't feel shame about that, I can see that because my therapist has done such an amazing job giving me permission for my criticism, because my criticism is only coming from my attachment longings and the fact that this person matters so much to me. So that's where it's coming from. So if we're using that language, people can own their own move without us trying to push them to own their move, right? And the impact it has on their partner. And the last piece I would say is buying the attachment reframe of the reactive behavior. So, and it's for the other person, by the way. So I'm a pursuer. I get critical when I feel alone. I feel like I don't matter. I feel non-existent, right? And I'm fighting for our relationship when I get critical. I'm fighting against the disconnection. You say that to a pursuer, they're going to be like, yes, 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 of course, of course, of course. You say that, and the withdrawer is like, that is not true. So at the end of stage one, as we're doing the work and chiseling away at our block, what happens is the withdrawer starts to go, oh, because we've accessed the vulnerable emotion inside. We've made that live. We've done some enactments around that. The withdrawer has seen it a bunch of times, and they're like, oh, dang, you are fighting for our relationship. Even though it doesn't work, right? Because we're like clear that it doesn't work, but we're also putting that attachment reframe on it. I'm the withdrawer. I feel I'm not good enough. I shut down. I move away from the conflict all the time. You say to a withdrawer, um, well, it makes so much sense that you do that while you go away. You go away because you're preserving this relationship. You don't want to say something to make it worse because that would be a disaster, right? So just stay quiet. Don't say anything. Preserve what you have in this relationship so you don't lose it and it doesn't explode. Withdrawer is going to go, yes, exactly. I don't want to make things worse and have it worse. And then we're in more trouble than we are now. The pursuer is going to think that that's crazy when you first say that to the withdrawer. So again, over some sessions of accessed emotion, working with the live emotion that's accessed in the room, the pursuer starts to say, dang, you do actually, care about our relationship and you are trying to keep our relationship safe and you safe because I am important to you. So that's the piece that like what that to me is like the second order change, the shift inside the body that opens us to do the deeper work in stage two.
Awesome. That's really helpful. Thank you for clarifying that, Debbie. So this question kind of follows on that one. Once we recognize that our couple is moving into stage two, that they're ready for that stage two work, a couple people wanted to know if this is a conversation that we then have with our clients, if we kind of let them know we're in stage two, if we give them any like foreshadowing of what stage two is going to look like.
Not a conversation that they're doing going into stage two, um, because our clients shouldn't really know the stages of EFT. We're explicit about the model. Like when you said the foreshadowing piece, I kind of thought like, well, maybe we could be explicit in some way and say, today I want to spend some more time with you if I can. And I want to try to explore some of those deeper places inside. We're going to try to take the elevator down today or something like that. That's being explicit about what you're doing in EFT, right? And so that's kind of foreshadowing a little bit. To have a conversation that like, hey, we're going to do stage two work and use that language, I wouldn't do. Like, I wouldn't do that. Just like I don't call my pursuers pursuers. I don't think that, like, I think the clinical terms of EFT stay amongst therapists and we use our basic, easy to understand words with our clients.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so this is one more question about kind of moving from stage one to stage two. The question was whether couples can move into stage two and then back into stage one or if it's kind of very linear.
Part of me wants to say, I wish it was linear, right? Like, I mean, I like if you're thinking like I'm going to have a bonding session with a couple and that they're not going to get pulled into their cycle that week, that's to really have high expectations of this couple. Maybe they can, maybe they can. They don't have enough experience of how to do it differently. Like, and when we're doing bonding events, we're creating different experiences for people, and we do that over a bunch of sessions. So they now know a different way to show up that keeps the cycle at bay, right? So I think your best bet is to tell your clients, like, this was a beautiful session. You guys really showed up for each other. I wish more than anything that you would be able to hold this space for the whole weekend. Maybe you will. But I also want to let you know that it's really common for couples when they step out of the office to kind of have that like that panic place hit, panic that the cycle can come back. And whenever we go into panic, our protection comes up automatically and we can't even be aware of it. If that happens to either one of you, you're going to get drawn into the cycle. So just try to notice that. So prepare them in that way. Now, if you're doing bonding event, bonding event, bonding event, and they're still escalated, not like tiny escalated, tiny cycle, but they're coming in and they're saying, we really got blah, blah. To me, that's usually an indication that we need to do more stage one work because it's kind of like they haven't bought the attachment reframe of the cycle behavior, right? Because if they buy the attachment reframe, they can see their partner doing their cycle move. And in their body, there's also some experience that says, oh, this is them fighting for the relationship, or oh, this is them preserving our relationship. And that can lessen the intensity of the cycle, which means it doesn't necessarily take away the bonding event. We could just keep building on those bonding events.
Okay. So it sounds like there can be kind of moving in and out in like smaller ways, right? Like stage two doesn't mean the cycle's gone forever. And stage two work can actually bring up the cycle because of the feelings that will come up as a result of it.
The vulnerability.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, because you said it's the important phrase there, it's not like the cycle's gone forever. And I just want to say the cycle is never gone forever. Right? We never get, no matter how much great stage two work we do, the cycle's never gone forever because couples will get in conflict. There'll be times that couples feel emotionally distant from each other. And when that happens, like that protection is so automatic, it's millisecond response. What happens after we do enough bonding events is the cycle doesn't have the power to bring us down to our knees again. But we can notice it. And then when we notice it, we can come open-hearted to the person that we love and say, hey, this happened for me yesterday. It touched that little tiny place inside where I feel like I don't matter. And right. And, or something like that. And they can repair because secure attachment is what we're trying to create with our stage two bonding events. And we have to remember that secure attachment is about connection, disconnection, and reconnection. You don't just have secure attachment without disconnection. You actually need the disconnection and the reconnection to trust in your ability to always repair because we're always going to step on people's toes that we love and care for. That is just part of the process of being a human being.
Yeah. And I love that image of the cycle bringing them to their knees.
Mhm.
So someone asked in the chat box if you could be a little bit more specific about what a bonding event is.
So I'll be simple first and then I'll get more explanation. So simple bonding event is when couples are emotionally accessible, emotionally responsive, and emotionally engaged with each other when they're sharing and receiving and responding. So that's like if you are a Hold Me Tight reader or anything, or Sue's new book, well, I don't know how new it is now, Attachment Theory and Practice, she basically says it's about ARE, right? I'm going to be emotionally accessible right now. I'm going to reach to you, send you clear emotional signals, and you're going to respond in an emotionally engaged, open way to my reach. So that's like the easiest way that you're creating that kind of feeling in the session. The more technical piece, when we look at the steps of EFT, is a bonding event is bringing somebody, take the elevator all the way down to the bottom floor, which is moving, touching into disowned parts of self, like our attachment longings, our attachment fears, our view of other, our view of self. Often those parts of ourselves, based on our life experiences with our important relationships, we usually push them aside, right? We push them aside because they're terrible to feel, by the way. Like, because if you're just sitting that and nobody's there for you, it's like you're just going to be in a pit of darkness by yourself. So stage two is about integrating that back into the self so I can accept my attachment longings and my attachment fears, and they can become part of me. I don't have to reject them. I don't have to push them aside. And the deepest part of stage two bonding is then I can touch my view of self. And along the bonding event, I will share my attachment longing. I might share my fears in an enactment, right? I might share my like how I learned to be fearful of the other, right? View of other, because others never been there for me. Others always dropped me every time I reached. I got dropped, and it's so painful. It's so scary for me right now. Send over that enactment. The last enactment in the series from the person who is doing the sending, if we can get to view of self, that's key, right? So because I've been dropped with all of my reaches that I've done in my life, um, I've internalized that there must be something wrong with me that people can't catch me, right? What's wrong with me that people keep leaving me or abandoning me or rejecting me, right? So that view of self is in there. And on a withdrawer side, right, that's a little more pursuer-y. On a withdrawer side, they're hearing that constant criticism of them getting it wrong and not being enough. Their view of self is like kind of the same thing. What's wrong with me? That I can't get this right. And I care about this person and I keep trying and I'm trying and I'm trying and I still screw up, right? Like we organically internalize our view of self based on these most significant attachment relationships. So in stage two, we want to try to get there. And then we're going to send that enactment over as our final big enactment, if you want to say. And the other person is receiving and responding along the way with acceptance and emotional presence. So their job, they're not talking about their view of self, they're not talking about their attachment longings. No, they're just responding with their emotional presence and acceptance of what their partner is sharing. And then the final piece of that bonding event is where the person who's at the elevator all the way down, I'm in my yucky view of self that I don't like. You're here with me. I feel you here with me. Now I need to express my attachment need. Send a clear signal to you right now, right here, right now, in this moment. I need to know that you still love me, even after you see this yucky part. I need to know that you're not going to leave me because I have this yucky part that I don't like about me, right? Like, so it's the attachment, longing, asking for it in the now. So, not, I need you to tell me next week that you still love me, right? No, we always in EFT are trying to do things in the now to create the experience in the now. So we get them to ask for their attachment need from the place of pain or darkness or elevator on the bottom floor, however you want to look at it. Ask for their attachment need to be met so the partner can get it right. Right? So that's steps 5, 6, and 7 that I just kind of went through right there.
Beautiful. Yeah. And those are the moments that like give us chills in EFT, right? Like those are the ones that like hook us and drag us in and make us love EFT.
And everybody wants to get to bonding events before they do stage one work.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
nobody wants their clients to touch vulnerable emotion and have the spouse just like block it and say, I don't trust that. That's crazy. That's not what I see. And that's part of EFT too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the less fun part of EFT, in
Mhm.
my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a few questions on the differences between stage one and stage two. So one of those questions that I think I saw a couple times is if you could give an example of the difference of what different enactments look like between stage one and stage two.
So an enactment in stage one could be something about feeling sad, about like I feel sad when I can't reach you, right? And they're in the sad, mind you. Our goal in stage one is to get them in the emotional experience, right? I feel sad when I can't reach you, and like maybe I have tears or my voice is soft. Um, and the partner early stage is gonna say, I don't see sad in you ever. Like I don't even know what this is, right? So they do the block. So that's like kind of an example of stage one. Or it could be something like we can do like a stage one enactment that says, hey, when I feel sad or lonely in our relationship, I realize that I come out swinging. And I know that impacts you, right? That's kind of like owning the move, but not because we forced our client to own the move because they realize that through the work that we're doing. So they do an enactment, which is like kind of like, hey, when my inside is feeling like broken or hurt or sad, I come at you and I'm like, right, to get you to respond to my sad part. And you don't. So those are kind of like stage one enactments. So I kind of, if I did a general, I would say stage one enactments is touching softer emotion, being in that, right? And it's different because in stage two, we're doing the integration of disowned parts of self. Like in stage one, we're accessing the emotion in the cycle, the emotion that's not seen that stays hidden. That could be like sad, hurt, pain. It could be fear, right? But we're not trying to get them to integrate disowned parts of themselves around their attachment, longings, and needs. That's kind of stage two. That's what makes stage two different for me, the clarity of that. When I'm doing view of self stuff, it's because my couple is in stage two. It's because they see the cycle as the enemy. It's because they buy the attachment reframe. It's because even when their cycle shows up, they're able to kind of recognize it at home. Even if it's like, and then I'm going to be working in stage two with the integration of disowned parts of self so they can ask for their attachment need to be met. That's a big difference. People don't have your clients send over what they need in stage one. I would say needs in stage one are like demands or where people are falling short. That's how it comes across. Even if it's said nicely, if they're in stage one, they're in their protection. That's how they receive it and interpret it. So needs are reserved till step 7 of EFT, which is the last piece of a bonding event.
Excellent. Yeah. And that sounds like a really clear difference in terms of what we're doing with the emotion in stage one and stage two in the enactment. So this question, I'm curious if it kind of relates to what you were talking about earlier. So we'll see how this goes. But the person wrote in when there's some escalation, blocks, or triggers in stage two, are those approached differently than if they were to show up in stage one?
Approach differently is an interesting phrase. That's why I'm kind of pausing for a second. When blocks show up in EFT, we make them explicit, right? If we're in stage two, we can honor the block. Remember all the little pieces of the broken chiseling that we've done along the way. We can honor that and even ask our client, like, I hear that, I get that, I know that's that cycle fear coming up right now. I'm wondering if we can just set that aside for a little bit and if we can stay in this place of whatever that place is that they were in when their protection came up. Um, so blocks we kind of want to make explicit. Like everything in EFT is about making it explicit. Like blocks, tears, looking at your partner, looking down, folded arms, like all of that stuff. We're trying to make it explicit so it can be seen live in this moment. So, including blocks. So, blocks in stage two, we notice them and we see if we can have the client stay right here and notice that block because that block has kept them safe. And we know that. And we get that. And right here, we're going to try to do something a little different if we can. Is that okay? Can we try that right now? So, hopefully that answers that.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, tell me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like really the way that we respond is similar across the board, no matter what stage they're in.
Except for the asking them if we could let that sit over there and stay here.
Mm,
That's more reserved for stage two.
got it.
And if
Okay.
we can gently push aside the block by noticing it and validating it, then we go continue with the bonding event.
Got it. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. Okay, so this one is really a broader question about stages at all. So someone wrote in that they heard from various trainers that they might be doing away with the idea of stages altogether and instead be talking about path one and path two. Can you address this at all?
That's really interesting. Um, I know that they're like this to me, the steps and stages are they're like the treatment plan of EFT. So I think it would be, I personally, I don't think we should look like get rid of them. Um, and I think that there has been talk over this in the trainer community. And I think many of us don't want to get rid of the steps and stages because literally it is the treatment plan for the couple. It is the roadmap of how the couples are walking down through therapy, right? So to get rid of that, um, would probably be a shame. Path one and path two is most likely stage one and stage two. Um, and I'm all for simplifying EFT. Like that's one of the things that people will say about me that I can really funnel it down and I can simplify things. And to oversimplify that and take out the steps would, I hope that doesn't happen in my lifetime. That's all I have to say about that one.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I hadn't heard that at all, but that is
Oh,
interesting.
it's a little scary.
I get that. One person wanted to know how you might work with a couple if it feels like one member of the couple is ready for stage two and the other one is still grounded in stage one.
I kind of want to say that you might have an alliance issue there, right? Because couples, like their dynamic is their dynamic. They're always impacting each other. So, how does one member of the couple get ready for stage two when their partner is still doing their stage one, if you will, move in EFT? Like, I don't get that. So I would look at like, are we aligned more with one person? Because we're like, oh, look at them and they're accessing emotion and they really get it. And this person is like locked in and they're not really getting it. And I would also be curious, are we talking about the withdrawal here? That the pursuers are ready. The pursuers can be very sneaky, by the way, with their criticism, by the way. And withdrawers, they're confused a lot of time in the beginning of therapy. So we really need to meet them there and help them get unconfused. And it's like a foreign language, like the attachment longings and the need for connection because they've spent their whole life pretty much blocking that because it's too painful. Like, so I just gotta put it in a corner somewhere, forget that that exists. So, I mean, my first comment on that is like, check your alliance. Do you understand the person who you think is still in stage one? Do you feel what happens to them in the cycle? Can you step in their shoes and really get that? And if you can't, or you get it cognitively but not emotionally, then maybe you need to do some more work around that with that particular client because it's our job to get them ready for stage two, both of
Yeah,
them as a couple.
yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. Um, okay, so I'm curious about the question. I might not understand it fully, but you might get it. So I'm gonna throw it at you and see what happens. How do you deepen the feelings of closeness and insight that were gained in stage one?
Say that again. How do you
How do you deepen the feelings of closeness and insight gained in stage one?
deepen the feelings of closeness? How do you deepen the feelings of closeness? First of all, we don't deepen insight. Insight is like a cognitive understanding, right? And I just want to say that. So we're not deepening insight. How do we deepen the feelings of closeness? I mean, that to me, like, I don't know if they're talking about in stage two or stage one, but that's about like we have to attachify. We're always attachifying, right? And holding an attachment frame as we're working. So the longing for closeness and connection is wired into both people, right? The longing for acceptance, to feel loved, to feel special, like that's like wired in. We really need that. So if like how do we deepen that? We circle around it. We access emotion around it, right? Like we use our accessing emotion skills, interventions. We lead with emotion in our tone of voice. We use proxy voice. We repeat what they're saying. We make sure we're attachifying. We slow down. We catch them in their vulnerable feeling. We ask them if they can stay here with you and that the courage that it takes, and they're doing a great job, right? So I mean, I don't know if that answers the question, but you got to attachify to deepen feelings of closeness.
Okay, yeah. And if whoever wrote that question into the Google form is here and wants to clarify, please feel free to in the chat box.
Mm.
Okay. One person wanted to know at what point do you address longings?
What the word address is an interesting word. So I'm going to say we always have to hold the attachment longing. Like if you're just showing people the cycle and you're not like you're just showing them the diagram of the cycle and we don't have the longing in that diagram, if you will, or in our reflection, then the cycle feels like terrible. And it feels like we're just stuck and this is our pattern and we're doomed. right? So the longing to me is right from the get-go, right? You do this thing in the cycle because you are longing to be close to this person, because you're longing to have a connection with this person, right? You're fighting for that connection because you long for that, right? So to me, it starts from the get-go. Like that's holding our attachment frame, knowing that each the people who are sitting in front of us have a longing for connection, and that's why they're in the cycle.
And would you say that you address it, hold it, respond to it differently in stage one versus stage two?
I think in stage one, it's the holder of hope. The longing is the holder of hope for the couple, um, for the each individual in the couple, and for the couple themselves, and for the partner. Like, so it's like to me, it's very important in stage one. In stage two, the difference is we're having them ask for their longing to be met after their elevators all the way down on the bottom floor and their integration of disowned parts, right? Their fears, their attachment longings, fears, view of self, we're sending those enactments over. And then we're asking for the longing kind of to be met when we're asking for the attachment need, right? Like, because the longing is to not be left, to not be abandoned, to not be rejected, to feel enough, to feel loved, even in my broken places, right? So to me, that is the longing. So it's like asked for in stage two at the end to tie a bow.
Got it. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. Okay, so at this point, those were really all the questions that we got that felt like very specific to the topic that we had laid out for today, which were the differences between stage one and stage two. So if anybody here today has more questions specifically related to that topic, feel free to pop them in the chat box, and we can get to them. But while we're here, I have a bunch of questions that might have been related to stage one versus stage two, but kind of felt more broader questions to me. So but still really important questions about EFT. So I'd love to throw some of them at you and see what happens. Um, so one person wanted to know, how do you deal with big mistakes or hurts? And that might have been specific to stage one versus stage two. I'm not sure.
Uh, so the word again, big mistakes. I'm like, I don't even know what that means. Hurts, I know what that means. I think like first of all, if we're saying that our client made a mistake, are we really able to hold an attachment frame there, or are we judging them for making mistakes in the relationship? That's why that word is kind of like, not a fan of it. Um, Big hurts in the relationship is often because couples aren't sending people clear signals about their attachment longings. Like, right? They're not reaching out. They're not emotionally connected. They're emotionally distant. So if we talk about a big hurt, like an affair, right? How do affairs happen? Like affairs happen because there's room in the marriage for a third person to pop in there, right? Which is because there's emotional distance, right? So that is a big hurt, a really big hurt. Um, and we got to put it in the cycle, right? Like, like I've like affairs happen often because in our cycle with our partner and there's distance and we feel like terrible, rejected, terrible, failure, lonely, whatever. And then someone over there gives us a signal that we're wanted, that we're appreciated. And if we make a choice to lean into that and away from our relationship, that's when affairs can happen. You can have somebody outside like appreciating you and valuing you, can notice that it feels nice and not have an affair, or you can like dive right over there. So affairs are big hurts, and the person who did the affair has to take responsibility for that, right? They made a choice. So, and even when we're weaving in the cycle and showing the distance, that person still went that way. Instead of noticing, hey, this feels really good. Hey, I don't have this in my marriage. Hey, we can we talk about this? Because I am, noticing how much I need this from our relationship, right? So I didn't step into the affair. But if I do, I have to take ownership for that if I'm the affair person. So that's a really specific thing. So that would be a big hurt that I think of in couples relationship.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And I'm curious if you what your approach is in stage one versus stage two, if there's an affair that needs to be dealt with.
So we're always going to meet our clients where they're at. That's like basic EFT, right? We got to meet our clients where they're at. So if they are in high levels of distress over this affair and they keep bringing it up every session, I'm just going to lean in, meet them where they are, try to soothe them, right? Through my presence, through my acceptance of where they are, each member, right? And even though we're going to be in different places, because that's what they're presenting with. So that's always going to be the first thing. If they're not presenting with the acute distress of the affair, I'm going to just like do what I would normally do. See if I can access emotion, hold my attachment frame, send over enactments when I have vulnerable emotion, see what happens. Notice if the block is related to the affair block, and I might say that like this, it seems like right now in this moment something's coming up. I wonder what it is, and if they say, "Oh, I don't know," you could say, "I wonder if it's because of the affair that happened." Sometimes, like so, there's a whole attachment injury repair model out there, and I feel like sometimes in stage one we have to do mini repair. Because if we can't get people to see the cycle because the affair is like glaring at us, we sometimes might have to do like a mini repair and have like almost like a mini apology, which is not enough. It's just enough to soothe them enough so they can do the stage one work, which is accessing their vulnerable emotion, sending over that enactment, taking that risk, recognizing their protection, like all that stuff that we would have to do in stage. So, attachment injury repair is interesting because I actually heard a trainer say, what did they say? I think they said we do that after stage two. And I kind of said to myself, that's interesting because that's not my experience. And I'll share why. How do you repair, like, well, how do you get a bonding event, a deep bonding event, when there's an attachment injury present? Are you really going taking the elevator down to the bottom floor? Are you really asking for that longing to be met? Or are you kind of maybe a little surfacey on that, but not in the depths of it? Don't we have to have the repair of the injury that opens the door for us to take that elevator all the way down? So my sense of, attachment injury repair is that it needs to be it needs to be done when it shows up. And typically it's going to block a bonding event, either of withdrawal re-engagement or pursuer softening. It will block the depth of that bonding event, which says, oh, I need to basically go through EFT around this content issue and do enactments, work on the forgiveness. I love the chapter, by the way, in Hold Me Tight on forgiveness. Um, it lays out steps for forgiveness conversations, and it's like this is what we need to do, obviously, in accessed vulnerable emotion way. But that's how you repair injuries. So
Awesome. Yeah. And it sounds more like you see that at like the transition period or like the beginning of stage two, as opposed to something that you can really accomplish after
I don't feel like you can. My thing is, I don't feel like you can do
stage two without it.
keep bonding events when there's an injury in the way. Like I feel
Yeah.
like that's a block, right?
Right.
I can't really go down all the way to my elevator and reach for and ask for you to accept me and love me. If you're the person who had the affair, like I'm not doing that. Like because
Right.
we haven't repaired from the affair. I haven't forgiven you
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
part of attachment injury repair is forgiveness.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Um, okay, we have a lot of questions that to me, some of them felt more like supervision type questions. So for those of you who sent in very specific to a specific couple you're seeing, and I don't get to it today, um, I would say reach out to a supervisor for that. There's amazing supervisors available. Um, but I'll try to ask ones that might be more applicable to everybody. Okay, one person wanted to know if you can give an example. I'm reading from the chat box now. If you can give an example of language of giving permission to the criticism of pursuer in stage one.
The permission of the criticism is because they're fighting for this relationship and they're fighting to get a reaction out of their partner. And the more they see their partner distracted, shut down on their device, whatever the partner is doing, the more they suffer inside and the more they try to get a reaction. So the longing and wanting that closeness is coming out as like, Look what you're doing. Look what you're doing. Look what you're doing. Because my God, if you can change what you're doing, I could stop my pain. right? That's how we can give permission. And really get that. Like pursuers are being critical because they're desperate to stop their pain. So I'm going to criticize you because, first of all, I already feel like the monster. If I'm a pursuer, I know I'm the monster. Everybody in the world knows I'm the monster because I'm the one who gets loud and blah, blah, blah. And I look like the monster in a fight. So I have to make sure you know what you're doing wrong in order for you to change that. So then I can stop being a monster and I could get you to change so I could stop my own suffering.
I love how you just use these words, Debbie. Like it's just takes these things that like in my brain are so big and he makes it so like understandable in like 5 words. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I'm sure I speak for a lot of people here when I say that. Um, okay, another question from the chat box. When both partners have contempt for one another and seem to want to get you on their side, how do you reframe that with the attachment lens and keep them feeling seen?
Uh, so I feel like every couple that comes in who's escalated in a cycle does that.
Mm.
They want you on their side. They want you to see that their partner is bad, right? And what we're going to do with that is we're going to try to lean in and get curious to what's happening for this person, this individual and this individual, right? But we're going to work on one side and we're going to try to understand like what's happening for them in the moment that they're kind of saying, hey, this person is the bad guy. This person, like ask them to kind of focus in here. Tell them that you want to know what's going on for them because you know that there's good reason for that. There's a reason why they're trying to get their partner to see that they're at fault. Help me with that. Can you help me understand that? Like what you're hoping for right there? Like what's going on for you? So, I just feel like people do that all the time. They come in and they want you on their side because they're in the find the bad guy demon dialogue from Hold Me Tight, right? They're in blame. And they want you to side with them so they don't have to be the bad guy. Because remember, if we're in blame, or find the bad guy, we can't stop our body from receiving that message as there's something wrong with us. And our attachment person is telling us that all the time, right? So we internalize that we are the bad guy down in the depths of the elevator, right? In our view of self. And so we can't tolerate that. So I'm going to it's like passing a hot potato of blame back and forth because I can't tolerate the burn. So I'm going to throw it at you. And you can't tolerate the burn. So you're going to throw it at me. So we just lean into that. We can maybe say that you're noticing that, like this is what it feels like right now. Be explicit about what you're seeing, describe the scene to the couple, and then lean in on one side and say, "Hey, so talk to me right now when you get that hot potato tossed at you and you hear that you're the wrong one or you're to blame, talk to me about what happens inside."
It's such an empathetic way of seeing it. Yay, EFT.
Attachment frame, right?
Yeah,
My attachment frame on.
love it. I love it. Okay, when in stage one, both partners are reactive, is it best to keep assembling and not go for an enactment when they're reactive, or to go for the enactment and slice thinner?
So if people are reactive in a high energy, angry place, we can't send over an act. We're not sending over high energy, angry enactments to like, there's no sense in doing that. Um, if people are reactive and we can match the intensity of it and we can drop them into like a softer voice and a softer feeling by us leading them there, and we can get to something softer and be explicit about that, right? Say what you see along the way. And then I would send over that enactment, regardless of what the partner is doing. I would still send that over because if it gets blood, first of all, it's not going to hurt them. I mean, it's going to hurt them, but it's not going to hurt them any more than the cycle does. And I need my clients to feel how powerful the cycle is and to feel what happens when these parts get hidden. So if a block comes up and the receiver just goes, right? I'm going to be the secure attachment for that person. I'm going to say, wow, you took such a huge risk. And I love that you did that. And I totally get that that was hard for you. And that something happened over there for your partner. And I'm going to go check in with them right now. But thank you so much for taking that risk. And then you have a partner and say, hey, I'm curious, like what happened for you or what you heard when your spouse said da 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 da. Well, I heard that is all my fault. Oh, so that's why you responded that way. Because you heard that it was all your fault. I'm so glad that you're sharing that with me. That's what happens for you in the cycle, right? You hear that it's your fault and then you puff up and whatever we can describe.
Yeah, yeah. And so I mean, it sounds like you're doing a lot of catching and holding for them, right? Because you're their temporary attachment figure. And I feel like that answers a separate question that we got in, but I
Okay.
think the same thrust. The question was, I've had pursuers send over soft, sad emotions, but the withdrawer is not engaged enough. The pursuer doesn't feel caught after the enactment, so I feel like it's reinforcing that they should not or cannot rely on their partner. What types of enactments should be early in treatment?
So that's a great question. And I feel like pursuers are in such a no-win situation
Mm,
in stage one. Because if they don't say anything, it boils up and leaks out with the criticism or the frustration. If they do say something, the about the softer side of them, if they say something about that, the withdrawer often will hear it in the cycle. They'll hear that they're wrong and they're bad. So I'm still going to have the pursuer send over that enactment. And then I'm going to make wickedly explicit and tell the pursuer you did an amazing job. If they did an amazing job, I said pursuers are sneaky. So we got to be really careful if there's like half blames in those enactments, right? We have to be super on the lookout for that. Um, and if there was no half blame, you just congratulate them and appreciate the risk that they took. And then you go again, go to the withdrawer and say, what did you just hear right there? I know there's a good reason for your reaction, right? So tell me what you heard. Tell me what you experienced when your spouse just said blah, 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 right? Because I'm going to tell you guys, they've experienced the cycle. That's why they're in their protection. So we know the answer, but we don't want to give them the answer. We want to explore with them.
right, right. And so it sounds like don't hesitate from sending over the enactment. You just are going to need to work with what comes up after.
Right. And if we don't send over some vulnerable enactments from the pursuer in stage one, how are they even going to get a real sense of their cycle? That's what I would say. So people get too afraid of blocks in stage one and they're like, oh my God, people are going to get hurt. Ah, that's so scary. Yes, people are getting hurt. People are getting hurt in their cycle. So we might as well send it over and see what happens. Be open to the block because then you could be explicit. Then you could like kind of validate it in attachment terms. And then it's not as bad, right? But that's what we have to do to get them to get the cycle.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I think we have time for two more questions. Does that sound good to you?
Sure.
Okay. One is, I think if I'm understanding this question correctly, this came from the chat box, so feel free to correct me if I get this wrong. But the question is, how can you both get the info that you need from assessments in stage one, like from the assessment period? They said gaining enough assessment info for case conceptualization while staying in present process.
So, assessment sessions, I would probably say that your assessment sessions aren't present process orientated, right? Especially when you're doing attachment history, session 2 and 3, right? You can notice something, like you can notice if there's a tear, but you're not deepening that. You're not going over with enactments that you could notice that. You can notice somebody reach out and touch the other person. You could notice frustration and your goal is to actually get the assessment. So if you assessment to me, attachment history assessment is essential because it helps you understand how this person has is the person they are today. It helps you get the protection and get why it was so important to them and why they had to survive this way because of their life, right? So to me, I got to do my attachment history sessions and my first session to build the alliance. That's like my goal of those first 3 sessions. Yes, I can throw in some present process, but I got to do that and then boom, we're right into it.
Okay, yeah. It sounds like not mixing the two is
You can do a little. I mean, you can do a little, but it's not your main focus. You have to do your assessment so you can better job down the road.
nice. Okay. This last question, I'm going to sneak in. I have a supervisee who was just struggling with feeling more, being able to connect more and understand and relate to more with one of the couple. And they were saying, okay, but when I saw Debbie do the lives, I never saw her connect more with one member of the couple than the other. And so she's like, I wonder if she's not doing that at all, if that's not an issue for her, or if she's doing it and it's just not seen by the outsider. So we were curious what your experience is in terms of
What if I'm connecting with each member of the couple when I'm doing therapy?
if it feels equal, if it feels like you find yourself drawn more to one than the other.
No, and most of the time, no, I don't feel myself drawn more than one to the other because I have my attachment frame on. If I find myself more drawn to one person than the other, I have to tell myself after that session when I'm reflecting, Debbie, like you lost your attachment frame on this partner because you're siding over here a little bit more. So you have to zoom yourself back out, remember what they've been through in their life, lean in your next session. You might even say, you know what, I was missing what you were saying last week and I'm super sorry. So can we go back to some of the things that you shared? Like, and own that as a therapist, like, and get my attachment frame back on. Because if we have our attachment frame, the behavior makes sense. That's what the attachment frame does for us. It has all behavior and interactional dynamics make sense if we have our attachment frame. If we lose it, we start to lean more that, oh, this person is like the better person in the relationship. And there's not a better person in the relationship. This is a dynamic because of attachment distress.
Right. Except for me and mine. Okay. I think do we want to throw one more question out or do we want to
It's up
wrap
to you.
up?
I scheduled my next thing for 1:15. So if you want to toss out one more, I
Okay. I
and
think
more.
um okay. Curious to hear your answer on this one. I think I'm reading this question correctly. How do you improve the ability to separate and individuate from a partner, right? So how do you help your client do that and improve their ability to emotionally communicate?
I don't need to help people improve their ability to differentiate from their partner because secure attachment is of the utmost importance. And the more securely connected we are, the more differentiated we can be. It's like one side, it's like the one coin, two different sides. So if we have secure attachment, we can be more differentiated, or I don't like that word, or autonomous, right? Because we are not enmeshed. Secure attachment isn't enmeshment. Secure attachment is I feel safe in the world because I know I have some place that I can land when anything bad might happen to me. So I can go out and do whatever, right, on my own and feel autonomous. And then if something happens, I can come and turn to you and trust that you're going to be there for me.
Okay. Thank you. We're getting a lot of thank yous. Really great clarity and understanding. So thank you for that, Debbie. I'm going to repeat what I said at the top in terms of the upcoming events, just to remind everyone. We've got Debbie has two upcoming Hold Me Tights, one in online in February and one in person in March in North Carolina. There's a discount code for those, 20% off for you or for any of your clients. An externship in May in person, a core skills online in February, an EFT. If you want to watch any of these videos, today's video or any of the past ones, that's going to be online. I'll send the link for that. And then you can also become a member at EFTCNJ and be the first to know about these events and events like it. And then we had a couple of questions specific to you, Debbie. Go ahead. You look like you want to say
So I
something.
just wanted to say I also have on my website like there's 12 2-hour booster trainings. I call them EFT boosters. They're on my website. They're available for purchase. I do run sales, so make sure you're on my email list. I mean, most you guys, I'll get the email list from Simi and I'll add you to my email list, so you'll get those announcements. But people love them. They're specific topics, and I show tapes demonstrating what I've talked about. So
I love your booster videos. I just posted a link to that. Thank you for that reminder. One person wants to know if there's any upcoming in-person externships. Sorry, in-person core skills.
um, I just started one, so there will probably, and that's up in North Jersey. I will probably do an in-person core skills sometime after the May externship. Unless there's a group of people who say, "Hey, we have a group of, 15 people. Can you come in person here?" Then I would like be like, "Yes, sure, of course I would."
Okay, awesome. One last question. Someone direct messaged me, but I imagine it was meant for you. Where can we find your assessment questions and other forms?
Some of the forms I think are on EFTCNJ, not the assessment, but the video release. There's some resources for therapists on that website. Um, um, I don't, I don't really know. That's such a great question. I mean, do a training. I mean, I don't even know where my forms are. Like that's the best thing I could say. If you haven't done core skills, I welcome you to join core skills. I do have a new form that I just created, which is the tango with the say what you see stuff, right? So maybe we'll put that up in another booster or something because it's too late right now. So,
Oh, thank you so much, Debbie. Thank you again for taking your time and sharing with us. And thank you everyone for being here. Have a great rest of your day.
bye, everybody. Thank you so much. Thanks, Simi. I appreciate you.